When we talk about the subject of wealth creation, most of the time we think problem solving, at least usually under the guise of value creation. We think, what problem can I solve? We get advices, talks from mentors, from people telling you to find a problem to solve, find a problem that you have personally experienced or personally encountered, a problem that somebody else is experiencing, and see how you can solve that for people on a large scale, right? Just practically find a way to exchange value, something that you can offer to people and they'll find valuable enough to pay you money. And now that's wealth creation 101. And that's perfect. That's okay. That's fundamental. In the entire journey of wealth creation, it's important that you start with the understanding of value, having something of value that you can offer, package, and present to people such that they can pay you in exchange for it. So that fundamental principle is very, very, very important. But there's still a whole lot on the subject of wealth creation beyond just value creation by solving problems. Value creation by solving visible, easily perceivable problems. I personally believe that problem solving, as the way we know it, problem solving in the context with which we interpret it, is usually the work of latecomers. I would explain that in a moment, but problem solving actually is usually needed after a discovery has been made. A good example is the discovery of electricity. Before electricity was discovered, there was no need for an electrician, there was no need for an electrical device, there was no need for an electrical company. General Electric was not needed. There was no need for any form of electrical appliances. I wouldn't need a pressing iron, an electric kettle, an electric bulb. There was no need, there was no demand. We never thought of those products because we never really felt like we had such problems. None of those problems actually existed. I really didn't need to think of hiring an electrician. So there was no need for all those products, all those services, all those skills as a means of value exchange before a discovery was made. And now I'm going somewhere. Nobody had problems. Like, nobody had a reason to offer solutions to those problems. Nobody needed those products or those services. And so this positions discovery as the zenith, the apex of wealth creation. It's the highest level of wealth creation. In fact, discoveries actually stands at the genesis of all other possibilities of problem solving that people later eventually find out. Discoveries would eventually solve problems that people didn't know that they have. So, and when I say discoveries, I don't just mean inventions, as in scientific inventions, discovering electricity, discovering fire, discovering chemical elements, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton kind of discoveries. No, I'm not talking about just that. I'm talking about discoveries even within known spheres, discoveries even within spheres where things have been concluded to have reached its prime. If you look at how the first man was created to operate on earth, God didn't create him to go about solving problems. He was created and put on God's earth to explore and extend that city of God. That was what he was meant to do. That was his primary assignment. Because, as a matter of fact, there were no human problems. The problems we had now were not in existence then. There was no Facebook account. There was no Facebook page for somebody to hire a social media manager for. There was no need for a cleaning agency. There was no need for a software developer. None of those things were in existence. There were no problems as it were, the kind of problems we are dealing with now, and that a lot of people are focusing on now. They were not in existence. So none of these things were there before man came on the scene. And as at the time where he came on the scene, a lot of these things were still not there. None of these problems existed. So his primary work then was discovering, exploring, and extending the things that God has put in creation. So when I say things, discovering things, I'm not just talking about tangible mineral resources or things like electricity. I'm talking about discovering systems, discovering operational codes, discovering the underlying rules and laws, processes, working mechanisms by which God has designed things to function on earth. Working mechanisms by which God has designed even man himself to function. That was his job. That was his primary job. It was after the chaos that, a lot of other unprecedented problems came up. Now, even with or without the chaos, of course, there would have still been problems to solve on the long run, basically because man was meant to make more discoveries. So the goal was for him to make discoveries, and upon each discovery made, there would be need to solve some problems. So there will be more problem solvers on the scene as these discoveries are made. When fire was discovered, there was need to know how to contain fire, how to channel it properly to actually achieve the aim that we need it for at any particular point in time. So there would be, more problems. There will be more problems, and then we'll need more problem solver. I think it was the founder of Facebook that said that at the time at which they were building the platform, that they discovered something around social networking and all, and then they were building and then testing different things and features, and they felt like they were solving a problem by doing that. And he said, but at the end of the day, they discovered that they created more problems, because now we need a whole lot more of skills, a whole lot more possibilities of problem solvers, because we have social media, because we have Facebook. There are a lot of job roles that have been created. Now there are new problems to solve. So ultimately, discoveries should open up possibilities and opportunities for problem solvers to come in. And that's why I said problem solvers are most times latecomers. They come in after the discoveries have been made. So looking at the example I gave of Facebook, you can see that when I'm talking discoveries, I'm not just talking scientific discoveries, as it were. I'm talking discoveries across every sphere, discoveries in every possible area. So this episode is not an attempt to attack problem solving or problem solving skills. In fact, when discoveries are made, new problems are created. So there will always be problems to solve. But what I want to do is shift your perspective from just looking at problems from the parallel, general, conventional way people see problem solving. That you are looking beyond what the layman sees. You are thinking of wealth creation by discoveries. Wealth creation by discoveries. Now, when I say discoveries, I'm talking about things that stem out of you seeing something that is not perceivable to the layman, something beyond just the superficial expression of things. Something that the layman working out there looks around and will not perceive. Not because they are that hidden, but because there's an amount of investment, immersion, and attention it takes to see them. So for a lot of people that use social media platforms, for an example, the exact monetization channel that these companies use are not quite obvious. They are not quite obvious to people. A lot of people use the platforms, but we have theories, different funny theories and speculations that people have about how these platforms make money. But a lot of people are not aware of how exactly do they make money. The few people that know how they make money, or have a glimpse of how they make money. They don't still understand the details, the dynamics of how it works at the back end. And this is what I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about discoveries that are limited to discovering oil, discovering electricity, something of just such sort, something esoteric or so. I'm talking about discoveries in any sphere, discoveries in any area. Discoveries in any sphere will always remain the zenith, the highest form, the highest channel of wealth creation. Talking about wealth that comes out of you milking something that is already, installed, embedded in how the world works, embedded in how creation works. So you can still find things, you can still discover things, break open an entirely new industry, entirely new possibilities of which people have not come up with, offering products, solution, service on another level because of a discovery that you made. There's one thing I want you to settle with in this episode is that true wealth is not just about problem solving. True wealth is a product of discoveries. And like I earlier said, discoveries will eventually still, bring about problems. There will still be problems to solve after discoveries come up. The only difference is that the kind of problems that discoveries solve are actually problems that people didn't know existed. The people are not actually aware that they have those problems. A very good example is when Henry Ford started to make automobiles, and not just automobiles now. He wanted to make them at scale, coming up with the assembly line. That's a discovery there. He had to make some discoveries to put together that, assembly line system of producing cars in mass, churning out cars in mass the way he was doing. It wasn't done that way before. So he was mass producing them, and then just so that it can be accessible to not just the elite people in the society, but even to the average, person around. So while he was working on this, it didn't look like he was doing anything reasonable at first. I mean, people were fine with their horses and their carriage and everything. They were fine. It wasn't a pain point. It wasn't an actual big problem. As a matter of fact, to a lot of people, it wasn't solving a problem. Nobody clamored for it. Nobody could see beyond horses moving carriages, horses moving carts. Like, that's it. That's how things are. So if you would do anything, maybe you could just help us, do something around the carts, do something around the carriage to make it faster. Maybe they could just look for faster horses, look for more efficient carriages, look for cheaper horses, smoother carriages, with shock absorbers for very rough roads and all those things. That's what problem solving would look like then. But he went beyond that. He discovered something. And that is what wealth creation by discovery is about. This is why I titled this episode Discovering True Wealth. I want to bring you into that mind frame, into that paradigm of seeing wealth creation through discoveries. This mindset alone would shift the way you interact with your sphere of operation, whatsoever area you are in. You are not just there to get a job done. You are not just there to finish a task. You understand that the process of doing these things, the process of interacting, is actually meant to get you to see things, to discover things that the layman would not see. So like I said, discoveries would eventually lead to, the need for problem solvers. But it's usually problems that you never knew existed. So the way discoveries work is that, it opens you up to possibilities of wealth creation, what is called hidden riches in secret places. Wealth that is unprecedented. Possible channels of wealth creation that you don't have to struggle with people, that you don't have to think of, oh, how can I cut down or outsmart the next person. This is the realm of wealth creation by discoveries. And it's quite important on your journey of wealth creation that one way or the other, you must get to that point where you are seeing through the lens of discoveries. If you are familiar with the term trade secrets, you would better understand what I'm trying to stress. You see companies like Coca-Cola. When you see those companies are in operation because of particular trade secrets that they operate with. In fact, if you would work with them at a particular level in which you would have access to the recipe with which they use in making this, product that they sell, you have to legally agree that you would not share some of the things that they would show you or tell you, because these things are trade secrets. They came out of discoveries. So beyond what you are seeing on the outside, there are things that they have discovered. They are called trade secrets, and they don't joke with it. They don't play with it. It's a matter of serious legal involvement if you joke with it. Right? So you don't necessarily have to go far to see areas in which you can make discoveries. But you have to start with, some level of intentionality. You must start with this paradigm that sees through the lens of discoveries. You are looking at, you are expecting to find things. Because one thing is important, it is that if you're not looking to discover things, you will not discover anything. You would not discover anything. If your approach to your work, to what you do, is not from the lens of knowing how things work, discovering underlying patterns. If that's not how you're operating, the patterns would be right before your eyes, but you would not see them. I think it was Thomas Edison that said that the only difference between the average person and a genius is that the genius would look at the same thing the average person is looking at and just decide to stay and pay more attention and pay more attention and pay more attention until they start seeing what the average person is not seeing. Not because those things are hidden as such, they're right there, but there is a mind frame. There's a kind of mind that will see them. So like I said earlier, I don't want you to just limit your mind to scientific discoveries alone. Scientific inventions like the Einsteins, like the Thomas Edison. I'm talking about discoveries in e-commerce, discoveries in the way people buy, the way people read, how that you can explore to a point where you find underlying insights, principles, patterns of how things function in every realm, regardless of whatsoever realm you are in. You're in fashion, you're in logistics, you are in aviation, you're in transport, you are in education. There are fundamental things that you can discover. And this is what it actually takes to found an enterprise. You must have found something to found an enterprise. A stable enterprise, you must have found something. So like I said, I didn't just call them inventions. I called them discoveries. It's a level where you are not just competing with the industry, as it were, because your raw material is something that has been placed in creation itself. It's something that has been installed into how people work, how the earth works, how systems work, how people think already, how things are wired. Something that you can discover and milk money from endlessly. This is the realm of discoveries. It's like a jackpot into the true wealth itself. And I'll give you another example here. If you look at industries like insurance, the insurance industry was not something that was always there. It started at a particular point. It was not just the result of somebody that was trying to solve problems as the layman would see problem solving. People were fine with their houses getting burnt and building another one. People were fine with their cars getting wrecked and just going to get another one, just buying another one. But somebody created an entire industry out of creating a sense of security, a sense of insurance whatsoever, such that people now can insure anything, not just cars, houses, and people insure their lives, people insure their bodies, people insure their job, people insure, anything these days. People insure just anything. The list is endless. So now if you look closely to that, you see that insurance is not conventional, casual problem solving. Somebody made a discovery. Somebody looked at the system of probabilities. They understood, they figured out to use the power of probability to their advantage, and they are making huge money. Insurance is a big industry globally. They knew how to gather information over time, predictable data that could show the likelihood of a person's car getting wrecked between now and the next 10 years. They put that information together and they can use the likelihood of that to give you a particular amount, charge you a premium that you pay on a monthly basis or so, and then they are making their money. And their probabilities have been working for them. It's not going to be an industry if it's not working. That is what I'm talking about. That's a discovery. The concept of probabilities already exists in creation. It wasn't, they didn't have to, invent it. The system of probabilities exists. It just took somebody that sat down enough to see that this thing already exists. This thing already exists. The wealth of people like John D. Rockefeller came by such discoveries. Oil was always there. In fact, people were to a level refining oil before John D. Rockefeller came into the scene. So he wasn't the first person to discover or refine oil. Right? You look at somebody living all the possible options of products and services that are on the earth and say the next thing I want to do is make space travel, less magical. I want to make it more democratized and accessible to a larger scale of people. I want to build space vehicles that can go and come back without being dismantled. That's not just the realm of solving problems. Nobody complained to him that we are tired of staying on the earth. It is that somebody took it a notch higher. And that's the highest form of wealth creation. It is discovery. Someone must discover something. These are the kind of ideas that require you to have found something. You must have been involved, invested yourself, invested your time, immersed yourself into that particular sphere to see things. It's going to be a network of, discoveries and insights that will tie up into each other and then lead to, ideas upon ideas that put themselves together to become concepts, working concepts that can get into the market and start creating ripple effects, new product services just from one single discovery. So it is endless when you find it. It's like a system, it's a law. It's the discovery of something that makes a pattern, that makes for a pattern. Something installed into how the world itself works. Something installed into how people respond. There are people currently that are milking money from understanding the way the human emotion responds. They've built consulting enterprises across different nations, working with governments, working with business corporations, helping them harness that power, understanding the dynamics of how employees respond at different levels, how managers should respond, how they should deal with factory workers, how the leaders should lead, how they should communicate in a time of crisis. These things stem out of a particular discovery. One single discovery that opened up possibilities. One single discovery about how the human emotions work, how people respond. We call it a lot of things now, emotional intelligence and, a lot of concepts, emotional quotient and things like that. But somebody delved deeper into them and got more ideas, started building working concepts, and then we have solutions upon solutions coming up. So when you are dealing with the realm of discoveries, the amount of products and services are endless. It's like an endless stream when you're dealing with discoveries. So, like I said about Rockefeller the other time, he didn't actually, discovered crude oil, as it were. No, he didn't. And he was not even the first refiner. But he was able to refine into a particular state where people could actually use it to light up their homes. And that was the discovery. It was the discovery of how, he had to speak with a scientist that ran a small test, showed him how we could get kerosene out of this smelly, thick black liquid. And that discovery was worked upon, and he saw how he could connect this into people's everyday lives. And this is what discoveries are about. It is you looking at what already exists and making a light bulb connection. I mean, the scientists already knew how to make kerosene. But kerosene was just kerosene. Kerosene was just something sitting in the lab. But he was able to discover, how does this thing fit into the lives of people? And that is what I mean by wealth creation by discoveries. So, like I said, discovery is not just about inventions, inventing things. No, you can make your discoveries in any realm at all if you would sit and explore, dive deep into that area, and concentrate with that lens of finding out discoveries. Most of the time, all through histories, especially for the scientific inventors, they don't usually get the commercial rewards of their inventions. Basically because most of them they're not wired for that. Some of them are not really interested in getting a financial reward. Some of them get royalties and patents and all those things, but for the most part, they don't care. They don't just care about making those things commercial. And the gap in between a scientific discovery and how that discovery fits into the everyday life is another discovery of its own. So when you make discoveries, like I said, more things unfold. Once a discovery is made, more things unfold. And that's your job at this particular realm of discovery. What you are doing is you are interacting with creation to actually see how to multiply and make more out of what already exists. That's the realm of discovery. That's the zenith of wealth creation. Making more out of what already exists. That's one of the highest capacities of co-creation that God has given man. It is that from what God already created, you have found how to actually expand, extend, multiply. Look into the system that He has installed and placed there and explore them. See how you can harness what already exists in it. So your job is really around exploration. You are not, you are not putting those things there. No, they are already there. Your job is in exploration, in reading, searching, consuming information, practically looking into things, experimenting with things to a point that, you are looking at automobiles and you are seeing what the average person is not seeing about automobiles. If that's your field. If you've ever come across some of Steve Jobs' old videos, when you see him speak about computers and the future of it, when you see him speak about, he so much understands how these devices are going to fit into people's everyday lives. He didn't just understand, he wasn't much more of the technical person, but he understood how the synergy between humans and these devices would work. Not just how it's currently working, but how it would eventually unfold. He understood the wiring of people around these devices. He understood how we want to interact with them. That's the realm of discovery. That's the realm of true wealth creation. So I hope to come up with an entire series actually on discovering true wealth. I hope I'll be able to properly expound on how to benefit from your discoveries. I think initially how to immerse yourself such that you make discoveries and how to properly harness these discoveries for financial rewards and financial gain, but this is where I'll be ending this episode. I believe you found value already. I trust that you share this with somebody. You can listen again and again and again. This podcast is on Spotify, is on AudioMark, is on Apple Podcasts. You can drop the link with somebody, share it, let the person listen to it. I want to hear your comments. They are very, 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 very precious and important to me. I want to hear your comments. See you very soon. Take charge.